Hi, this is Julio Don with Alkycontrol, and I want to discuss controllers and evolution of the controllers because some customers want to see not everything has always been the same for 20 years and some things have been the same, but here goes. I wanted to show a picture of something a little older. This is one of our first controllers. These are from 2005. And these controllers, basically, we had always hardwired everything because at that time there was a belief that not having an electrical connection to unplug or something would probably be better. The only downside to this system is that having everything hardwired this way, it would make it a lot harder to install. And that's why in 2007, we decided to change to electrical plugs and connectors on things. That way they could always be unplugged for simple testing or whatnot, transferring. So our original controller just had two wire terminals where the pump was connected to it, ignition ground, the LED, and the trigger for it. So let me set this aside. Newer stuff now that we have, these are the new boxes. The new boxes now feature a Cat5 connection, which are these cables, and then these cables can be extended. And you can get extension cables from us or from anybody that sells computer parts and such. And they simply plug into the back with a click, and then the other controller plugs into the back. Voila. This can be made whether it's 3 foot, 5 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot. The extension cable doesn't matter, but it gives the installation a lot more flexibility. Not only that, if somebody were to need to basically put this box, let's say in a center console or behind a glove box, or they're going to put a module under the seat and this one, and they have these extension cables, this is a lot smaller hole to drill to be able to feed this type of cable and connect it to this. On the changes that also happened were having electrical plugs that could be disconnected. So on these, we have these plugs that simply unplug, and they're MetroPack. So they have weather pack sealing and stuff in them, which means they have little rubber cushions. So even if they get sprinkled with a little bit of water, wetness, or dampness, it keeps the liquid from basically getting in and damaging the connectors. And they unplug. So if somebody needed to disconnect, they can disconnect the system without having to go and hack and cut wires. Same thing with power. The power connection plugs in, same process with a weather pack seal, and then the pump simply attaches to these 3 wires here, the red, black, and white. Red and black are motor connections to the pump, and the white is that signal from the pressure switch that I've already spoken about in other videos as well when it comes to the pump. This is where the signal gets interrupted to make the light off the orange and brown for the activation LED change from red to green. So newer controllers too now have the ability to, inside the box, there's a jumper that a person then can select if the controller is going to be connected to a 2-bar map sensor or MAF for trigger, a 2.5 bar or 3 bar. And this gives that kind of flexibility, so then the control on the left for turn on is then scaled forward. So an example, if you have a 2-bar map sensor and you have this control that says 0 to 100, 50% would be 7.5 pounds of boost. So now if you want the kit to activate at 7.5 pounds of boost, you would simply put this control here at 50% where the dial sets, and then that one is basically set up at that point. Or if you wanted it a quarter, 4 pounds of boost, now you could put it at 25%, and then that's the way that you would select at what PSI level you want it to come at. Circuit boards are printed, and it also explains this to you there. The trigger for these kits depends on the vehicle, it depends on the load, and it depends on a lot of variables. Typically, the 2 ways that we activate our systems currently is either using a map sensor, which we include with a lot of systems, or we trigger off of mass air, frequency based. So on GMs and some Fords that are frequency based, this MAF converter can be used, and it simply creates a voltage on this yellow wire, and it changes it to a DC voltage from a frequency to voltage, and that's how we can activate the MEF systems off of airflow. On some older Fords that have voltage-based mass airs and some other vehicles that are voltage-based, a person can simply connect the green wire, which is signal, on the controller directly to the mass air meter if they want to use that choice. If anybody needs any more information on that, please give us a call or email us, and our contact information is on our website at alkycontrol.com. One more change. These newer boxes also have a couple of different features, and one of the features that exist is that on the ones that are mass airflow controlled, we have a delay incorporated into them. So as soon as you power up the system, these boxes are dead for the first 6 seconds and they click on. The reason for that is that a lot of mass airflow meters may auto sweep when you first power the car up. What that means is that the sensor goes from 0 to 10,000 and back to 0 to basically figure out what altitude or air density it's at. And while it does that sweep, if the system were to have power, it would cause the pump to get a little pulse and then spit a little liquid into the intake, and then that can create a tuning problem. So when you use mass air, it is important that these boxes have that delay built in. The way you can tell is that as soon as you get this box with power, you turn it on, the light will stay off for 6 seconds, then click, turns right on. One more feature of the new boxes, aside from the Cat 5 on them, is that they have a button on the back that says pump bleed. What this button does is that if you hold the front button and the back button together, this will run the pump at full speed. So if you needed to, let's say, empty a tank, you've had alcohol sitting in your tank for 7 months, you want to put fresh alcohol in, you simply disconnect the hose from the nozzle, key on, push and hold these two, and that runs the pump at full speed, and that gets all the liquid out of the tank. Same thing, you just put a brand new system into the vehicle. There's air in all the lines. You put liquid into the tank, you hit test and bleed together, now that runs the pump hard, and that clears all the air out into an empty container. Once the liquid flows nice and steady, you let go of these, connect your hoses, and your system is now ready to be put into use. The pump bleed is important. Part of the problem is that the test button only puts 4 volts to the pump. So it's very low pressure. It's not designed to make it a super aggressive system because we're not trying to put liquid into running engines and create damage. So it's important. That's why the back button is always hidden to the back, and that's why this one by itself will not do anything unless both of them are pushed, because this is more like a nuclear button. But I thought it was necessary and a neat feature because I don't know how to do this any other way. Anyway, this is a quick video and tutorial on this, and this is a good upgrade to do to older systems, especially when you change to the newer pumps, because it will allow their bleeding process to happen so much faster, and will also allow, if you get our now new pressure gauge, to basically be able to test the system under high pressure. Thank you for your time.